So I do not have a slide or a presentation, but after this, I'm more than happy to, whether it's jump on a call or email any material. But today, I really wanted to dive into and address the competitive landscape that we're all facing right now. And I think in the past, the reactive approach, I look at it in two lenses. You've got reactive and proactive. In the past, reactive is traditionally you get your role, you look at the requirements, sometimes you meet with the hiring manager, sometimes you don't, you fill the role, you go to the next role, right? It is the most competitive time that we have ever had in this market right now, and so you have to start to think differently and do different things, especially from the talent acquisition standpoint, right? So adding a strategic sourcing element before you get the roles has been where we've had a lot of success. And you're doing a full market analysis, analyzing needs, analyzing different businesses. So what we like to do is we'll look at the industry overview. So you can look at what are the top trends, what is the best things, tools, and other things to use. We'll also look at talent acquisition as a whole, both externally and internally. What are challenges and what are wins that other companies are facing? What are wins that we've even had internally? How did we fill a role so quickly? And going about it like that. Then you've got the category of like education, right? So on a collegiate level, if you have interns or grads, looking at what schools are listed for the top of whatever your industry may be. So for a food and beverage company, you may look at a college like the University of Arizona and pull candidates from there, right? So it's just continuing to develop your research. And then the last thing is, on the research front, in my eyes, or lens anyways, is gonna be the competitive landscape. So for all of our kickoffs and just for us to have, we build out ecosystems. Now what an ecosystem really is to show what the target companies are, and you may not have to target every single one of those companies, but it's to show that you really understand the market and you really understand who we need to go after to find the best talent. So that's all happening before we even get the role. Now, in terms of pipelines, so we rely heavily on pipelines and looking forward. So past companies that I've even worked at and I've talked to other recruiters in the landscape, you may have a pipeline for one upcoming role, right? And that may help you for that one role, and then it just kind of diminishes. And so what we were able to do is we actually use Avature. We built out several projects, and we listed them as proactive projects to have contacts and interviews and questions and just all around conversations with potential prospects in the market. But instead of calling and headhunting for a specific role, all of a sudden you're flipping the model to have conversations with people to learn about themselves, what they like to do, really what they want to do next. You know, that may help your company short-term, maybe short-term ROI, but in the long run, it doesn't help. That's not what they want to do. And so I've had so many people reach out after our conversation saying, hey, this is what I would love to get into, or I noticed this role open. And of course, during these conversations, you may know what the best role is, whether it's open now or in 6 months or a month. But just having those conversations, you're building relationships from the get-go, and also you're building your brand, and you're really wanting to learn about people's backgrounds and what they've done and everything else there. And so, again, touching on Avature, one of my favorite things on Avature is the data modeling and how you can run reports. So for every one of our proactive projects, and also we do live projects as well, you're able to pull the report, see full name, title, job, it's all customizable, but you're able to then, on weekly touch bases with managers, see who you've contacted, what the steps are, and similar to the earlier presentations, you then can visualize the data and show them, hey, here's where we're targeted. Maybe there's an area I'm missing. Maybe there is an area I'm not, right? So if I'm looking at a brand marketing manager at, let's say, PepsiCo, if I look at the list and I look at my project and pipeline, if I've only targeted a marketing manager from that company, well then I, as a recruiter, the talent team, we haven't exhausted that entire search because there may be an associate brand manager. They may have a marketing lead. There's so many different titles and avenues that you could really go about. And so just to touch on that, how we find the candidates now is, I'd love to ask just in general, how many people actually source over, let's say, 5 channels? And a channel can be like Career Builder, Indeed, LinkedIn. Just raise your hand, I'd love to see it. Over 5 channels. Damn. Well then, okay, so let me just kind of walk you through the verticals that we look at is, of course, you're gonna look at your internal aspect, right? Current employees, who's on great growth projections, who could potentially work for the roles. Then we look at our database, and that can be, in this case, we use Taleo for an ATS, and we use Avature for a CRM. So we'd look there. Then you also have your job boards, right? This is going to be your Career Builder, your Indeed, your Monster, your ZipRecruiter, so many others as well. Then we have professional networks. That's going to be your LinkedIn, your Zing, your GitHub, your Dribbble, again, so many more as well. And as we continue to go down, you start to see more and more avenues. Social media, right? That is such a big platform. I have gotten hires from Instagram, from Facebook, from Pinterest, from Twitter. There's so many different avenues, especially in the social media sector. And as we look as Gen Z continues to come into play and all these different generations, they're spending more and more time, right? Whether that's applying to jobs on their phone, whether that's posting about locations. Even today, people here may post that they're at the conference, right? So you're really able to then do searches on where people are going, what they have. The hire off Pinterest that I got, they actually posted a certification. So there's so many different avenues that you can go there. And then the last thing is what I would classify as other, right? You have conferences, you have meetups, you have newsletters, blogs, forums, and by different searches in Google, you can find and pull Excels, you can pull PowerPoints, but even today, as we've all mentioned one way or another, we all can share candidates, we can share data, and overall, there's so many different sourcing channels that you can really target to find candidates. And as a recruiter, something that I truly value is any time I send a slate or I send my final candidates, I want to know that I can look the manager in the eyes and say, hey, these are best in market. And I personally feel if I haven't exhausted every single sourcing channel to identify candidates, am I doing that correctly? And for me, it's no. So I'm always exhausting every single sourcing channel, continuing to have these proactive conversations, and that's my quick little story.